Hey everybody, welcome to the 1947 Operators Podcast. In order to increase the rate of technology innovation in India, we need to increase the number of operator angels in India. Hence, we are launching the 1947 Operators. 1947 Operators is a podcast that unpacks the investing journey of the best operator angels in India. We will be covering areas like what drove them into angel investing, what's their investing process like, how do they source deals, pick deals, and win deals, how do they evaluate founders and the market size, what value do they bring to the cap table. We're hoping the 1947 Operators podcast will help more operators start their angel investing journey. As a result, we will see an increase in the number of operator angels in the startup ecosystem. All right, I am super excited to have my friend Aakrit Vaish on the 1947 Operators podcast. Aakrit is a founder. He founded a company called Haptik, which is a part of Reliance Jio now, and he's an enabler. He's been backing his friends, other founders, and co-workers. He's done about 75 investments. So we have a lot to unpack. Aakrit, welcome to the show.
Thanks, man. Thanks for having me. Always fun chatting with you. Just a quick heads up. For the first 10 minutes, I'm going to be chewing on my omelette and toast over here. But otherwise, great to be here, and hopefully, I can share something that helps people.
Awesome. Let's dive right into it. What drove you into angel investing, and what was your first angel investment?
Yeah. So what drove me to angel investing was, I think this tends to happen with most operators that I have met. Is honestly, it was accidental. What happened was, I don't think I've been as detailed about this story, but I will do it now. I had just moved back from the US, and I was still working for my US company called Flurry. I hadn't yet started Haptik. I had a couple of other startups that had started and were operating, but really they were more side projects. What happened was, as I was getting to know the Indian tech ecosystem, I ran into the very wonderful people at that time used to be called Morpheus. This is about 9 years back. Morpheus is now called Super Morpheus, but it was then and is now run by a guy called Sameer Guglani. So just through whatever network and stuff, I ran into him. And what Morpheus was an incubator. He was at that time trying to build sort of an incubator that can be like the YC of India. For those, of you who were working in the ecosystem or starting companies 10, 11 years back, I'm sure you're very familiar because they were very active, great community, built a lot of interesting, content around it and so on. So anyway, so as I ran into him, we were just sort of getting to know each other. And he said, hey, why don't you, think about angel investing in some of our portfolio startups. And I said, "Wo kya hota hai?" He said that, okay, look, he kind of gave me a little bit of how it works. And, I said, okay, look, that's interesting because I always thought that investing was for people who typically had a lot of capital.
Yeah.
Like we were talking about this right before this call started, right? Like, I think, I never thought about investing or angel investing at the time because I was basically a professional operating in a company. I didn't have any disposable cash. But then, when I understood that it's a lot more about that, and then, what founders care about is the expertise or value you can bring to them. Yeah. I thought that's interesting. Let me give it a shot. So the first investment I made was a Morpheus portfolio company at that time called Book Ad Space. So what the company did was it basically was trying to build a marketplace for offline advertising. So if you are a brand and you want to advertise on a hoarding on Linking Road in Mumbai,
Yeah.
and you want to pick something, then you can basically go and say, I want this, and then they would connect you with the supplier of the actual offline asset and
Mhm.
make the match. So, yeah, that was the story.
Gotcha. And fast forward to today, Aakrit, as I mentioned earlier, you've done 75 investments over the period of it could be what, 5-6 years.
Yeah, 78 now. I mean, three more checks happened since
Please
the last
share
time.
them with me
Yeah,
after the
yeah,
call.
yeah.
And so let's say a new operator, angel investor wants to get going. How would that person go about it? How to source deals, how to evaluate deals, and how to even win deals? What would be the process like?
Yeah. Uh, a lot of my peers and friends have asked me this question. So I think I have a decent framework now to give this answer. First, park aside about in Indian rupees 1 crore, in US 200K over a period of 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
And aim to invest in anywhere between 10 to 15 startups. So your average check size will come out to about $10,000, give and take, which is about 7-8 lakhs.
Yeah.
So first step, do that. And like I said, it's over a 2 or 3 year period, right? So it's not as if you have to like literally like put the money aside. You continue earning, you continue investing in other sort of liquid assets, but ensure that when you think about this, say 1 crore over a 2 to 3 year period, 10 to 15 companies. So that's step one.
Yeah.
Step two, find a way to meet at least 10 other already active angels. And that for all of us friends and gentlemen is hustle, right?
Yeah.
So find a way to get in touch through your network, through somebody, cold email, jo bhi hota hai, right? But some or the other, and especially if you're operating in a late stage startup or a growth stage company, my guess is that shouldn't be that hard.
Yeah.
Right? And go meet 10 other active angels, tell them that this is what you want to do, and be very clear about the value that you will bring to the other angel.
Yeah.
Right. So I no longer can you say I'm a good entrepreneur or I'm a great entrepreneur and I will bring like mentorship and no, that's all done, right? Especially if you're starting out as an angel.
Yeah.
Now you have to be very specific. I can help with D2C supply chain. I can help with taking India SaaS global because I have done marketing SaaS before. I can help with introductions to banks because I work at a bank or I am a fintech, right? Be very, very specific about the value you will bring to these 10 angels, not to founders yet, because you're not going to get that access.
Yeah.
Hopefully, if you make 7 or 8 or 10 of these meetings, 3 or 4 will end up liking you and probably like will become friends with you.
Yeah.
Okay? And then see, most active angels like me, and we were just talking about this before also, don't really have time to share deals, right? There's barely any time to like manage the investment and evaluate it. Kahan main aapse share karne jaunga, right? But the sharing will happen when I think, no, you must speak to this guy because this person has expertise in the area, which honestly, even I would want to know what he thinks about this startup.
Yeah.
So the hack over here is get the active angel to reach out to you when he wants to help you. He wants help to evaluate his deal. And he'll only do that when you can be very clear about the expertise.
Yeah.
And that's it, man. That's a cycle. So as long as 2 or 3 active angels start like, relating to it and start thinking of you for a very specific area, they will reach out. Hopefully you will start seeing some initial deal flow. Let's assume your first 3 to 5 investments will only come through this channel.
Yeah.
Then starts phase 2. Phase 2 is once you've done those 3 to 5, make sure that you become very helpful to those companies. And there's a thin line between being helpful and being involved. So don't do that. Founders hate listening to talking to angels. So there's no, but find a way to be regularly helpful, and enable them, see what you can do for them without asking investor type questions. You're not an investor, you're an enabler, right? Make sure that you're doing whatever you can for them.
Yeah.
And then the next goal needs to be that two of those founders start recommending you to other founders.
Yeah.
That's probably where your next 3 to 5 investments should come from.
Yeah.
Going from there.
And then it becomes a network effect. I think it's a very, very smart framework, Aakrit. Allocate some capital towards angel investing, and then, of course, diversify that, and then proactively reach out to active angel investors. And at the end of the day, like you have, as you know, you said, like now in India, capital has become a commodity, right? You have to have some concrete value to offer. And if you have value to offer, investors, founders, both will reach out to you eventually. So Aakrit, typically, and of course, like it takes time to build filters. You've been doing it for some time, and we typically get what, like, an hour or two with the founder, maybe a few calls to evaluate the founder and the market, because early stage is mostly about the founder and then the market. How do you evaluate founders? Like, are there any questions that you ask them that kind of like gives you a sense about the abilities of the founder?
Yeah. I should have been a little given a heads up caution at the start of this podcast that for people who love frameworks and scientifically breaking things down, this will be fun. For people who think this is a too much maths going on, it will not be, right? So
Yeah.
even the first part of my answer was very like, there's a science to it.
Yeah.
And side note, like, I think that's just that type of person I am. I don't like doing things opportunistically. I think opportunistic is the worst.
Yeah.
I think you have to do things thinking about frameworks and what your strategy is going to be. Now, to answer your question, so short answer is yes. I basically have a 5-point framework. And exactly what you mentioned, I developed this 5-point framework thinking 30 to 60 minutes. Right? We have 30 to 60 minutes with the founder to understand these things. I am not going to, so keeping that constraint, I have to have that answer come to me very quickly. And as a result, there are these 5-point sort of checklists that the person has to check. Yaar, abhi to ye ho gaya hai ki, I've become so anal about it, right? Unless you check all 5 on 5, it's just no point. I had like, just 4 days back, I turned down a deal, known the guy for a long time, so comfort level, seasoned operator at a very large SaaS company, great founding team, pretty much all the bells and whistles that you can think of that, there's no reason why anybody would not invest, or even I would not invest given it's SaaS and all that. But I didn't do it because they didn't meet that the 1 point out of the 5. And I said the boss, yeah, yes, I am, or yahi hai. No matter what, like, I'm here to help and keep chatting with you, but that's about it. So here's my 5-point framework. So first is, and this is not in any order of priority.
Yeah.
But one is this a venture investable business?
Yeah.
And I got a lot of backlash on this in the past from other people, founders, and my friends also, that's a very polarizing view to look at it. There are lots of great businesses that may never be venture investable. Then my answer to them is then they're not angel investable, right?
Yeah.
Absolutely. There might be amazing businesses that you can build that is not a VC investable business. But then why are you doing angel investing, right? Like, the whole point of angel is to operate, in a VC type world.
Yeah.
And a venture investable business basically for me has 2 components, maybe 2 to 3 components. First is market size. Everybody knows that.
Yeah.
But more importantly, does it use some inherent technology that can make it grow very fast?
Yeah.
We often underestimate a business is potential in terms of how fast that can become.
Yeah.
Lots of times, lots of business can become $100 million. The question I ask is, can I become $100 million in 2 years?
Yeah.
And maybe it may not, it will fail, but does it have the potential?
Yeah.
So that's one. Second is, in whatever the founders have done about that idea or startup till date, and it could be like a 4-week-old company, right? have they exhibited some sort of hustle till this point? Like if you come and tell me कि मैंने user interviews किया है, user research किया है, I've spoken to 10 other people, everybody can do that.
Yeah.
Is there something you've done which is like, wow, like that's epic?
That stands out.
May not be good or bad, may be a terrible thing, but wow, like, that's an interesting way to think about it. I'll give you another example. I spoke to this about a year and a half back. I had spoken to this company that was trying to do something in the content space. Basically, they're trying to aggregate creators and all that. So, I was talking to the founder and I'm just understanding what he's done so far. He spent, he said, yeah, one thing I've done, Bato Bato mein came up. He spent 36 lakhs to buy a YouTube channel that had a 1.2 million followers in the same content space already. He said कि मेरे को वापस जाके distribution aggregate नहीं करना.
Yeah.
So I like, oh, that's like interesting, right? So I think some sort of hustle that you've exhibited could be through perseverance, whatever. That's second. Yeah. Third is timing. So, and I've been personally a sort of a sufferer of this. Not necessarily the time is right for all great ideas.
Yeah.
It's equally worse to be too early than to be too late. So I often ask myself this question that why is this idea relevant today? And honestly, iske liye Shiva, you don't need like a research report padho, Goldman Sachs ko pulo, ye wo. Just ask yourself, right? Just be very intuitive about this and you'll probably be right.
Yeah.
Like if most of us are like decently smart to like know that answer.
Yeah.
The fourth is how is this problem being solved today? And why could this be different? Most people don't understand this question. This is not a question to say आपके competitors कौन है. And उसमें तो आधे से ज़्यादा founder से मेरा कोई competition नहीं है. मैं बोलता हूँ हाँ ठीक है. So भाई मतलब this is not for me. I mean कोई competition नहीं है means then what are you doing alone in this space? Like nobody else cares about it, right? But this question is not asking the competition question. This asking is how is this problem being solved today? You could have been Amazon trying to sell books, and the answer should have been the way it's being solved today. Somebody goes inside the bookstore and buys it from a Barnes and Noble. That's the answer that I'm trying to find. That how is it being solved today, and why is this a better alternative? So that's
four there.
That's four there. And then the fifth is that why you?
Yeah.
So let's assume venture investable hai. Let's assume कि तुम जुगाड़ करके यहाँ ले आए हो. Let us assume that time base का correct hai, and let's assume कि there's alternates, but this is really a better way to solve it. All those things kept together, why will you win? Right? Assuming you're an amazing guy, and there again, it's less about this over-exaggerated framework of founder market fit. I'm not necessarily seeing that. The answer could as easily be, I'm obsessed with this problem, right? My buddy Dream 11, Harsh, right? Great guy, amazing, whatever. He's been a sports fanatic since he was like college years, right? He's been, if you go to his office, like it's, different things plastered all over. Like that's a good example of somebody who's just obsessed with the problem.
Obsessed with,
It could be that I have a lot of expertise because I worked somewhere else or did something, right? There's so many repeat, people you invest in who are just like, I'm working at an insurance company. This is a terrible way of doing things. I figured this out. I know inside out how insurance works and so on. Those are the five.
And I think the last part, a lot of these people, I mean, a lot of you can filter it out. Let's put it that way. I think it's really about playing the game that's just for you. Like you just need to figure it out. What makes you so curious, and you just dig deeper into it, and you just cannot just stop thinking about it. And
I was talking to a fellow founder, Angel, and this is one of your Aapka celebrity founder types. Very everyday news media, large company, and we were just chatting along the same line. And we said that it's key to identify what we call spikes, which is that in one or two areas, it could be functionally or it could be behaviorally, you should have one or two spikes, which are in those areas, you're either top 100 in India or even better, top 500 in the world.
Yeah.
And like, you should literally be like, like there's very few people better than you at that.
Yeah. It's just for you. And in fact, I was talking to this guy, Pom. He's pretty famous on Twitter. Pom. I've known him for a while, since 2018. Now he's managing good chunk of capital, and I asked him this one question, like, how are you able to scale yourself so quickly? And he's like, Shiva, most of it is noise. You just have to figure it out. What are you most curious about? And eventually you will just become obsessed about it. And once you're obsessed, just keep going deep at it. And yeah, good things will happen. And so Aakrit, of course, outside of capital, what are the other motivations, for you to back other founders, other operators?
Hi, and again, you and I have spoken about this before many times. It's the most incredible way I have found to learn myself. I feel like I saw a tweet the other day and I resonated with so much. The guy was saying, again, he was a founder, operator, whatever, and angel. He was saying that my favorite part of the first week of the month is not my MIS or my board meeting. It is reading all the investor updates from my portfolio. Because there's so much hidden in that, right? There's so many gems in terms of, how founders are, what companies are doing, businesses are doing, how they are innovating. And look, kabhi-kabhi kya hota hai na, that after a company reaches a certain scale, like for example, Haptik is, you lose touch of like that 0 to 1 ground reality and hustle. And I want to keep myself real in terms of how the founders of today are innovating at that sort of early stage. You learn about market trends broadly. As an example, what's happening in the tech or hiring market. The best way for me to learn is just aggregate all these emails, that investor updates, right? Because broadly, you'll get a sense that in some month they'll be like, I'm very struggling a lot to hire. You're like, okay, now it's become difficult. In some months, like now, people are like, no, salaries are back to normal, talent is back to normal. Now that goes into helping me sort of think as well. So, and many such examples. So lots to learn. And then the second is, I'll be very blunt about this. Yeah, giving back and all that, I don't like that term. It's not charity, right? Like you're not like giving back, and you should respect the art for it.
Yeah.
But it's more enablement, right? Like I love like sort of sharing insights and maybe things that I went through with other founders so that they can navigate it better. Like call it like passion or call it like just fun, but I get great joy in when I see that a founder navigated something that I made a mistake on previously. It just feels good, right? Like it felt like you were able to bring impact or value to this world beyond money or anything else you're doing. So I enjoy it. I have fun doing it. I like sort of, helping founders in that sense, but it's very like, you ask and I'm available. I will never reach out to you. So I never, if you don't reach out to me, it might be a chance we'll never end up talking for like 6, 7, 10 years. But if you do, then I'm always available and, looking to help in whichever way I can.
Yeah, it's the tons of learnings and you get a lot of satisfaction by helping others. In fact, I was chatting with Miten Sampat the other day, and he said his biggest reason of starting angel investing was he himself is not a techie. So he said, I have to be around smart people and technologists. And that's how he actually found his co-founders, the CTO. And that was literally the tipping point for him at Zerodha. And Aakrit, you've had many winners and you've got some misses as well. So let's talk about
many misses and few winners. That's angel investing. Please don't let us not confuse people and set the wrong expectations. It is mostly failures and a few winners, and hopefully the few winners will make it all worth it.
चलो इतना ऑमलेट में खराब नहीं करना चाहता था but we'll still do it. So we'll talk about few of your winners and then very few of your misses. and what did you learn from them?
From winners or misses? You only learn from
misses. You learn from it, yeah.
Yeah, you only learn from misses. यार तो ये पूरा जो अभी ज्ञान दिया 5-point framework का वहीं से तो आया है. I mean, it's not something I knew 5 years.
दिख रहा था, मेरे को दिख रहा था, पेन दिख रहा था वहाँ पे.
So it has come from realizing, right, that when a company missed, like, what did they not have, which aspect. In some cases, I think I got this feedback from one of my other fellow angels. I was probably the most guilty of not getting that notion that is it a venture investable business and investing a lot in businesses I loved. Right, so I was very guilty. Arey, ye to kya idea hai? Like I was guilty of doing things that I would love for this to exist. And sure, maybe one or two you can do like that, just as kind of, okay, look, I would love to do it, but then if you're trying to do like as a portfolio, and of course it's at the end of the day capital and money, then that's not a great idea, right? So yeah, like I can think of 6, 7, maybe 8 companies which I would have really loved that would have done well, but they didn't, and they either died or had a sort of kind of acqui-hire type outcome.
Yeah.
So it felt a little bad also that time, or yaar, ye ho jana chahiye tha, because it felt like, but it was good to learn that they were just not scalable sort of venture companies. So the framework has been developed from that. So I was most guilty of doing this. I just used to fall in love with the problem, fall in love with the founder's hustle, and I helped, and isme ulta hota hai na, because these are the ones you end up trying to invest more of your time also.
More of your time and capital.
So you realize that this is just hitting into a dead wall, and you're trying to push you're basically saying that, look, you're thinking in your head that this is like a Ferrari and all it needs is like a little bit of push, a little bit of dhakka, it'll get there, but honestly it's a truck, right? And no matter what you do, it's going to be at a certain space. So that's one that became very, very obvious to me. I think the second is this whole notion of signaling. Who else has invested? It is the worst thing I think any operator angel or any angel can do. Any outsized returns have not happened because there was the party round happening. Right? Outsized returns haven't happened because, and yaar, ek cheez socho na, matlab if everybody thinks it's going to do well, then likely everybody is not always going to be right, especially at a startup stage. How does everybody know it's going to do well? That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's so early. So the other thing is we over-index on signaling. Look, I look at signaling from a expertise standpoint, right? So if, let's say, I'm investing in a D2C company that does cocktails, which became a very hot space, I would check if is there like a guy from Diageo, for example?
Yeah.
That I think is better signaling. But hamara jo ye pura classic ye founder crew hai ki, we all know ki and people use us also, all of that like that. Na, ki matlab, kahin na kahin. The other day I heard somebody is trying to raise a follow-on round through one of these portals. It's not like LV or Angel List, something else, some other group. Somebody called me and said, "Arey, they've mentioned that you're the lead investor." I said, "Boss, when did this? Matlab, kuch nahi, maine standard 10-15K check hai, main kuch nahi kiya." But the idea is they're trying to use that as a signaling for others, right? I would advise everybody to be very careful on that.
I think a lot of it becomes a signaling game. They'll see, and this is what I've observed as well. And it's a good point what you said, in fact, investing is such a, or angel investing or venture capital asset class is an asset class where you mostly make money when others think that this thing won't work out, and you go and invest, versus
Exactly, precisely.
signaling.
Yeah, like enough people should have said it's not going to work.
Yeah.
Like only then, like some of it will make sense. And problem kya ho gaya hai? Abhi to theek ho gaya this year. Last year to was funny.
Yeah.
Last year to founders would expect कि मैंने 4 नाम ले लिए हैं, आप तो 4 के दोस्त हो, ये चारों तो you are all friends, तो बस ये रहा RUV का लिंक, एंजल इज I said, boss,
क्वेश्चन मत पूछो बस अब.
I said कि I know you all invest together or whatever, you are all friends, तो ये I've got these, I would love to. तो मैं तो सबसे पहले क्वेश्चन पूछता हूँ, why do you need me? तो मैं तो ये भी नहीं, कंपनी के बारे में पूछ रहा हूँ कि हाँ यार, तो ये 4 आ गए तो आपके पास, तो मेरी क्या जरूरत है? So yeah, even founders were susceptible to that, and not just because I have the 3 or 4 big brands, branded angel guys. I'll close my round immediately, and I thought everybody was going a bit wrong in that circle.
Yeah, and feel free to share, Aakrit, if you want to talk about them. I would love to talk about few misses that went on to become pretty big.
Okay, so the biggest miss that eventually I made up for. So actually, no. So I'll give you. I have weirdly managed to do something which is slightly different. If there is a deal that I missed or I said no, actually, okay, 2 ways to break this up.
Yeah.
There are certain deals that you miss, right? Which is that somebody reached out and you were just busy, you didn't pay attention to it, or you never got to introduce the founder, whatever. Some deals you just miss. Yeah. And then there were some deals that you said no to.
Yeah.
The things that you miss, I don't care about.
Yeah.
That's fine. It is what it is. You get some, don't get some. I'm not going to do any. मेरे पास time नहीं है to put effort into it कि मेरे को क्यों नहीं भेजा. I'll call the founder up. I'm just like, okay. I think there's maybe like twice in my life I have proactively reached out to a founder saying, I heard a round is happening, I would love to be involved. Twice. That's it. Right? Otherwise, I don't care about it. And don't miss them.
Yeah.
The other one, which is the ones where you say no, and they end up becoming big. उसमें मैंने थोड़ा weird किया. उसमें मैंने क्या किया? मैंने बोला कि if they end up becoming big, तो मैं next round में आ जाता हूँ.
Yeah, I got it.
So basically, because the rapport with the founder still remains.
Yeah.
So if they end up doing well, I don't regret. I don't want to have regrets, right? So I don't want to feel like this company will become a unicorn and I missed it at the early stage. So that's fine. I'll come in at a A or a B round. I'll get less of a upside, but I want to be a part of the journey. And both 2 companies that have been in this situation were Unacademy and Pepper Content.
Gotcha.
So both of them, I said no at the start.
Yeah.
And then I came in a lot later.
Got it. And Aakrit, you've been co-investing with your friend Miten, and what's the superpower that you see in him from a investor perspective?
Yeah. So I think we balance each other out fairly well also because we've known each other for a very long time. But I think the investing side with the balance we have is, see, I'm a founder type investor, right? Which is that I will, like I said, I'll get enamored by ideas and I'll get very carried away. And Miten, even outside of Angel, everybody knows he's one of the most savvy investors, VCs in town, right? At times he was leading the VC arm. At Cred again, he's doing a lot of structuring in terms of where capital should go. So he's in general a very methodical investor. So I think that balance helps.
So you both complement each other there.
Yeah, and in some cases, the opposite is also true, right? Where in some cases, from an investor perspective, thesis-wise, it may not make sense the way he thinks about it. But then I tell him, नहीं, ये कुछ करेगा. ये मतलब ये कहीं ना कहीं जाएगा. करते हैं देखा जाएगा. It'll be a zero.
मैंने देखा था Mountain Dew थी उसके पास. मैंने देखा था उसके Mountain Dew थी.
Correct. कभी कभी लगता है कि नहीं ये कुछ करेगा 0 और 1 होगा डाल whatever, don't expect कि anything middle will happen, but it's worth doing something.
Yeah.
So in that sense, I think and yeah, exactly, I think his superpower is just being an absolutely astute investor in terms of being able to connect various dots, think about markets and how they're going to evolve, how businesses will scale and so on.
Yeah. Love it, Aakrit. It's always a lot of fun chatting with you, and thanks a lot for making the time, coming on the pod, and really, walking us through your angel investing journey so far.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. I hope this, like I said, this can be useful, and kudos to you for getting this off the ground. I think I get a lot of people ask me all the same questions that you did. So the fact that now there'll be this ready repository, next time maybe इनको ये link भेज दूंगा.
Perfect.
That just watch this for 30 minutes and it will hopefully help you in some way.
It will. That's the whole point of the 1947 operators. Thanks a lot, Aakrit.